Nick Wright is now joining me live. Nick Wright. Anything about that? And I got to be honest. A couple of weeks ago, online study said that the herd hierarchy had become the sort of default ranking system in America. That's what the polls say. What do you make of mine?
Oh, yeah, listen, of all the traditional, some would call it archaic power ranking systems, yours is the best. Everyone agrees. Now, you want a true tier system with a committee and names, people know where to go to. But for the old school power rankings, this is the best. I would, third straight week, I don't have any real issues. I would have the Bears in there in place of the Falcons.
11. They were 11.
But that's probably a 9-11.
Yep.
Right? That's what I figured you were going to say. Like that 9-10-11. The Bucks, like it was 2 Thursdays ago, but it really looked like the Bucks had that Falcons game won.
Yep.
And then they squandered it at the end. The Bucks could be sitting here at 5-1. And I mean, don't look now, but MVP Baker Mayfield could be coming to an award ceremony near you. He's been awesome, and Todd Bowles deserves credit.
Yep.
And so the Bucks are a real team. I agree with the reason I said flip the Falcons and the Bears is just because of those same concerns about the Falcons defense that you alluded to. But yeah, otherwise, I think this is really solid herd hierarchy once again.
Okay, so last night I watched the Jets. What do you know? They fire Saleh, their best coach on the staff, and their defense isn't as good. But they got rid of Hackett, which Saleh wanted to, and their offense ran motion and ran the ball. So if Saleh could have just stayed and they moved or demoted Hackett, I think they could win the game last night. I don't think they were as good defensively. So before we get to the Davonte Adams, I broke this down earlier. There were 4 big plays in the second half of this game, and the Bills made all of them. Taylor Rapp, a couple of breakups, the amazing interception by Teron Johnson, which is an all-time play, and then Josh Allen on 3rd and 4 running for it, doing a Mahomes. I think he might have just decided, I'm going to run for it, and those were the 4 big plays. But I did come out of that thinking, it's a grown-up offense. They face a lot of mediocre quarterbacks coming up. I don't think the sky is falling at 2 and... Am I nuts?
Oh, no. You're nuts. You're nuts. Listen, 24 days ago, Aaron Rodgers told the media, the next step for us is to learn, expect to win, and learn to dominate. Since then, they lost to Bo Nix and the Broncos and were held in single digits. They lost. They were down 17-0, lost to the Vikings, fired their coach, blew a game to Buffalo, panic traded for Davante Adams. This is a bad team. And I saw, colleagues that I respect saying, oh, today is the fork in the road moment for the Jets. Either the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. No, it's not. Game 32 for the Washington Wizards when they lose to the Hawks is not a fork in the road moment of the franchise. It's just the franchise continuing to be the franchise. I'm 40 years old, Colin. There have been few truisms in my life in sports. One of them is this. The Jets have always been the Jets. They've been poorly run. They have bad ownership. They're not forward thinking. I had to listen to people all offseason lecture me about how great their weapons are. And now you've got the quarterback publicly throwing under the bus Mike Williams, who they're going to end up trading, I would assume, for 10 cents on the dollar because he's not on the same page as Rodgers, and now Davante's there, and they're going to act like that's the problem. The problem with the Jets, Colin, is very, very simple. There are 2 things. First one is this. If the ball is not out within 2 seconds, they are cooked. Because Rodgers, when it comes out quick, it looks good, it looks sharp, they're on time, but he can't move, and the line for the 6th straight year can't hold up. The other problem is this, and this is a real indictment, because Rodgers yesterday publicly throwing Mike Williams under the bus was such an embarrassing moment. He is the anti-Patrick Mahomes. You give Patrick Mahomes the ball with a chance to win the game, you trust he is going to go win the game, and after the game, if they don't win, no matter how outrageous it sounds, he's going to say, that's my fault.
Yeah.
That was on me. I should have handed the ball to MVS. Rodgers, 3 weeks ago, chance to beat the Broncos. Ball in his hands. They get 14 yards of offense in terrible weather. Put the kicker in a rough spot. He misses the kick. Last week, down 6, chance to win the game. Ball in his hands. Interception thrown to Mike Williams. Last night, ball in his hands. Down 3, chance to win the game. Interception thrown to Mike Williams. Then a post-game press conference where he all but diagrams the all-22 explaining how not my fault at all. You're not going to win that way. They don't have enough talent. The defense isn't good enough. They're not a receiver away. So, no, I do think you're crazy. They're a 2-win team that is supposed to be a 2-win team.
Yeah, well, they've beaten Jacoby Brissett and Will Levis, so you are what your record is and who you've beaten.
Congrats, guys.
Yeah.
Congrats. You've beaten the two of the only teams in the league worse than you. And you're going to lose to the Steelers. You're going to beat the Patriots. And then they're going to be like, well, at 3-5, is it over? Then you're going to lose to the Texans, and we're going to have to listen to Aaron Rodgers say to us, I've been in this position before. What did I do then? We reeled off all those victories. He's not the same player.
Yeah.
They're not a good team. They're not a good franchise. He's not the same player.
So I want to talk about Dallas. I have said before, I have comped them with the Lakers, which is too insular, too many friends of family in the building. As NFL and NBA have gotten global and smarter and broader, the Cowboys are the Jones family, and the Lakers are the Buss family. And it's like, no. You got to bring the best of the best globally into your organization. You got to be the Dodgers, or you got to be Kansas City. You got to bring outside influences, different Spags, Reed, people from different organizations. And so I look at the Cowboys' loss, and Jerry this morning is ripping. He went on local media on a radio show, and he's ripping the host. It's a circus there. And I'm like, if Jera doesn't realize Jera's the problem, nothing changes. What do you think the rest of the year looks like for this franchise and going forward?
Well, listen, I was more bullish on Dallas than I think most going into the year, and part of that was because I was so pessimistic of Philly, and I didn't see Washington popping like this. So I'm like, well, they're going to win the division because they win 12 games every year. Even this year, if they don't win 12, they can win 10 or 11. And I thought the lack of a running game concern was a little overwrought. I thought the run defense concern was a little overwrought. It's like, they'll be a little worse than they were last year and win 10 or 11 games. Right now, the things that were concerns going into the season have become not just concerns, but massive problems. They can't run the ball, which is impacting Dak Prescott. He's becoming more turnover prone again because defenses know all you can do to hurt us is throw the ball. And the defense, 4 straight games of getting absolutely rolled at home is an institutional problem. They have allowed more points in 4 consecutive home games than any team in 50 years in the NFL. Just a mortifying spot considering prior to that playoff game, Colin, the Cowboys had won 16 straight home games. Now they've lost 4 straight, and they just get rolled in the first half of all of them. I still think because of Dak and CD and Michael will come back, that they are going to be a respectable team the second half of the year. But they clearly have major structural problems, and Jerry's total refusal this offseason to go spend money seems like it has put a very hard ceiling on this team. If you remember in the offseason, I postulated he wasn't spending money because he was unsure about Dak. This was going to be a prove-it year for Dak, and he wanted to see what he could do with less talented guys before he went out and paid him. And that made sense to me until days before the season. He just paid Dak anyway, so they're locked into him. So I don't know what they're doing, but I don't think it's a good plan in any direction.
So Nick Sirianni, it was shocking to me. Can you imagine Bill Belichick, the late Bill Walsh, jousting with fans? I said it's like a breakup that's about to happen, and one of the people in the relationship starts getting kooky, the shaved head, jousting with fans. This a lot of people are positive with the Eagles. I think he's cooked here. I think it's over.
Yeah. You said, can you imagine Bill Belichick? Colin, you run a business. In this scenario, you're Jeffrey Lurie, and Logan at the Volume is Nick Sirianni. Can you imagine If after a rough 6 months or so, Logan comes to you and is like, I need a week off, I need to reset, and you're like, okay, no problem. And his first day back, he shows up with a shaved head, is terrible that day once again. It gets in the YouTube chat, starts screaming at people, and then when you say, we need to have a Zoom to discuss what happened here, he shows up with his kids on his lap so you can't yell at him. That's what Sirianni did.
Yeah.
You wouldn't allow that to happen at a car dealership, much less the Philadelphia Eagles. And American history is very consistent in one thing. The spontaneous showed up having shaved your head is not a sign things are going great. Nobody on a winning streak is like, you know what? I'm going to shave my head and shock everyone and then yell at the customers. The guy's out of his depth.
Yeah.
He's always been out of his depth. They were able to cover up for it. And there have been 92 wins in the NFL this year. Where would you rank that victory over the woebegone Cleveland Browns?
Yeah.
89th?
Yeah.
90th? That is not something you celebrate about. And then the other part that I found noteworthy was this. After the game, with his kids on his lap as shields from the media, he was like, oh, yeah, players told me to do it. I got to get back to being myself. I got to be fiery. That was Sunday. Monday, yesterday, start of his press conference. I'm very sorry. Turns out maybe my boss didn't love the old screaming at the customers thing, and I maybe shouldn't have done that. I mean, we know where this train is ending, where this is ending, and to me at this point, it's just inevitable. He's obviously not going to be their head coach next year, and I think that they are worse than their 3-2 record suggests.
By the way, 90 seconds to 2 minutes left. Davante Adams, let's circle back to it. I thought it was so telling that immediately the Jets lost and he called out Mike Williams. Now, the problem is you can't blame Saleh or Nat Hackett, so it's Mike Williams. Do you think Davante Adams, you don't think he'll make them better at all?
Well, no, I think he'll make them marginally better. But I don't think the Jets are a soon-to-be 32-year-old wide receiver coming off a hamstring injury away.
Okay.
I think that the defense is not as good as people thought it was going to be. The pass rush the defensive front was supposed to be excellent. It's been average. The secondary is excellent, but now it's banged up. The offensive line was supposed to be good. It's been average at best. Rodgers, Colin, have your at some point producers do this. Look at post-MVP Aaron Rodgers' numbers per game in production for this last year in Green Bay and this year in New York and compare it to Derek Carr in the same time frame. They're identical. Everyone is acting like, okay, the Jets are this average team with average coaching, but they've got this star quarterback. No. They are a below-average team with below-average coaching that has a below-average, aging, curmudgeonly quarterback who will take none of the blame, who will always let you know whose fault it actually was, and is increasingly immobile. And if he doesn't get the ball out immediately, if they get in 3rd and long, they are cooked every time. Last night, if there was one drop, one run that didn't work, they were done because he wasn't going to be able to get the ball out immediately. So do I think Davante Adams will help a little bit? I do. Do I think that is enough to turn the Jets, who look like a 6-win team, into more than a 7-win team? No, I don't. The Davante Adams trade is noteworthy to me because it means a team like the Bills or the Ravens, who are actual contenders, won't be getting him. Not because the Jets, who are about to fire everyone and have the quarterback retire at the end of the year and start over again, because, again, I remind America, they're the Jets. No, I don't think he moves the needle for them significantly.
First things first, Nick Wright, as always, fire today. Great seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.